All right, we're good? You seem tired. I know. I hear you. So how do we represent this graphically? 4 ways to do that. Watch this. Before you start analyzing data, find the MCTs, the standard deviation, and the range. So mean, median, mode, standard deviation, and range. That's usually a good way to get started. There are 4 ways here, right? 4 ways to graphically represent. Line plots, we've already done that. I would review that for tomorrow if I were you. Line plots, right? Frequency tables or frequency charts, okay? This is a requirement for 3 and 4. Okay, so you need this one in order to be able to do any of the 2 that follow it. So it's almost like a requirement to do that. So then we have a histogram, which is similar to bar graphs, and a frequency polygon, which connects the dots with straight lines. So we're actually going to do them on the same graph, to be honest. Okay. There's a review on line plots. We've already done that. This is just another quick way of doing it. And here's a frequency table. So it's going to at first be a bit confusing, but later it's going to make a bit more sense. See? There's not a whole lot of, I'll guide you quite a bit when it comes to frequency tables. Okay, so here we go. What we do is when we do a frequency table, we want 3 columns with the interval, the tally, and frequency. Okay, so those are the 3 things we want. I will highlight this with a different color. You want to sort your data. I keep emphasizing sort your data points to get that right. Then you want to determine the number of intervals. Anywhere between 5 to 12 is ideal. And you're like, whoa, why 5 to 12? It depends on your data set. The number of intervals can be chosen by you. Watch this. On an assessment, you will be given the number of intervals to be used. Because it's a nightmare if some of you choose 5, others 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It gets a little crazy, okay? Calculate the interval width. Okay, determine the width of your bars, essentially. You can round this number if you like. Start your interval column and use the interval width. Use a low enough value to include the lowest value of the set, okay? Use a low enough value to include the lowest value of the set. That's very important there. Different color for this one. Okay? Different color for this one. If a value falls between 2 intervals, you place it in the lowest interval. So if a number falls exactly between, you put it in the lowest, always. Okay? Can I just go up one more time? I'm going to, for note-taking purposes, okay? Let's go up here, and I'm just going to quickly remind you. Line plot, okay? It's just one of these, and you put the dots, and sometimes you stack and whatnot. Frequency table, you want 3 columns, like that. And you have the interval here. You have the tally here, and you have the frequency here. Interval, tally, frequency. Those are the 3 headings you want to have. When it comes to histogram, it looks like this. Histogram, you have an X and a Y axis, and your bars touch. Right? That's a histogram. And frequency polygon looks a little different. It looks, you actually connect the dots like this. So you actually connect the dots, and it's like a line graph. Okay, so that's how they're different. So if you look at your notes, you can quickly review which one are we talking about. Okay. All right. So I already got it started here. Some of you are writing this down still. Okay, that's good. Then we're going to go with that table underneath. I already started a frequency table for us. So you know how to graph. We good? There we go. So you see something like this, you can cover the midpoints for now. That's usually what a frequency table looks like. So because in the past students have missed this is what I'm going to try this year. Okay, watch. This is your frequency table right here. This is the frequency table. The midpoints I've just added now, which is something I will ask you to do in the future. The midpoints. So in essence, the frequency table will just be this, right? And I've already done this for you, right? Listen carefully. Imagine before this happened, there were a bunch of points. I just gave you a bunch of values, and you've kind of arranged it into this table. And the interval is 100 to 25. What's the interval width if you look at this? How much am I going up by every time? I used a nice and easy number. You see that it's going up by 25? So you can actually say that the width is 50 centimeters. 25 centimeters. Get your act together. 25 centimeters is the width. You can see that. Sometimes it's easy to see, other times it's not as easy to see. So what I've done is I've said there are 3 data points that fall between 100 and 125. So you just say 3. Okay? And there's, how much is like 4 with a line across? Do you know how much that is? That is 5. I don't know if you've learned how to count that way, but so there's 5 and 3. That would be 8 values in here. Then I find 3, let's say these are trees. So 3 trees are between 150 and 175 centimeters. So you put that in there. How many are in the last one here? 12. Yes. Let's just quickly figure out our total. So this will be 20, and then 3 and 3, that's 26 total. And it's 26 items. Okay. We know that there's 26 items that were considered in this particular case. If I ever ask you to find the midpoints, okay, midpoints you do here. Midpoints is finding the middle between the two. It's basically finding the average. So you go high minus low divided by 2. High minus low divided by 2. No, sorry. Guys, I'm off today. How do you find the average again? You add, right? The easy fix. But just make sure you add them up. So this is my high, this is my low. I'm going to find the average in between. So you just grab your calculator if you're not sure. Okay? You go 100 plus 125, and you divide that by 2. Make sure you hit equals before you divide by 2. So the midpoint between these, it would be 112.5. Let's do that one more time for all the other intervals. 125 plus 150 divided by 2. That's 137.5. Make sure if you do this that it actually makes sense that the value is in between these two. Okay, so it's 150 plus 175. Divide that by 2. That would give you 162.5. Is it in between? Yes, it is. 175 plus 200 divided by 2. That is 187.5. Get used to doing the midpoints, because we're going to need them later on. but this is the original frequency table. Sometimes I just add this column on my work. I do that myself, okay? So we've created our table. We have our midpoints. Let's go over to the page 16 there. Use the frequency table to create a histogram or frequency polygon. Okay. Interval is placed on the x-axis, so make sure you highlight that. Whereas frequency is on the y-axis. Always. Watch this one here. If you're not starting at 0, use a zipper. Does that mean anything to you? This is what I call the zipper. Like if you don't want to start at 0, which sometimes is annoying, we only use that for stats, okay? We don't use that for quadratics or linear, which you're going to do at the end. For histogram, create bars that touch and have the same width. Very important. Bars, just highlight bars. They touch and have the same width. That's what you need to know about histogram. Let's do that first. Let's go down to our graph that I've already provided. So what is this? This is our interval in centimeters. Okay, I literally grabbed that from page 15 where it says interval. I just label it that way. Here I'll go frequency. And in this case it's number of items. We don't know what it is. So we just plant it like that. Based on my frequency table, what's the lowest value I should start with? Look at your intervals. Where do I start? I start at 100, correct? Starts at 100, goes to 125. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this 100. And you're like, wait a minute, because if you go 100 and then 125, wait a minute, this is 100 and then this is 25, that's not right. So that's when you introduce the zipper here. If you introduce the zipper, you make up for that jump here. So this could have been 1,000 and then you go up by 100. Just put the zipper in there and then it's fine. We just forget about it. It's almost like you're just zooming into this part. So now you just want to read exactly what your table says, right? You go from 100 to 125, and then you go from 125 to 150, 150 to 175. I just read my frequency table all the way to 200. Okay? So I have that there. And now you grab a ruler. I don't want no squiggly lines here. Okay? Grab a ruler, and you need to figure out what your highest bar is going to be. What's the highest I ever go in terms of the frequency? Just look at your values. 12, right? 12. So I want to make sure I have enough room. So I'm going to make this 5. This is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I have enough room there. Okay? Guys, you should follow, okay? You should follow. Then this goes up to 3 here. And I usually put down the value on top of that bar. And then you have 8. So I'll just kind of cap it off. Right here is 8. And I'll just come down right next to it, just like that. And that's my 8. And then I have another 3. Okay. And then 12. So that's what the histogram looks like. Okay. And usually my trick this is what I'm going to tell you. Just make a histogram every time, even if I ask you for the frequency polygon. Because what is a frequency polygon? That's our next graph right here that I'm asking you to graph. A frequency polygon, you connect the midpoints of the intervals with straight lines. It must start and end by touching the x-axis. Okay? So make sure you write this down, write down the graph, and then I'll point this out. Frequency polygon, you connect the midpoints with straight lines, and it has to start and end by touching the x-axis. So I'm going to use a red pen for this, just for it to stand out. What are the midpoints, folks? Literally, if this is your bar width, it's going to be right in between. We actually calculated, this was 112.5. Then you go to your next bar and put a dot right in between. You go to your next bar, midpoint right there. And to the last bar, midpoint right there. And we're going to connect these. So if you make a histogram, you're in a sense just moments away from having a frequency polygon. But the kicker is you need to make sure it starts touching. You need to start by touching the x-axis like this, and then connect the rest like that. So just make sure you make contact with the x-axis. Okay? And I'll just put a legend here. Right? This is the frequency polygon. Whereas this is the histogram. If you did not want to start with a histogram, you want to go straight to the frequency polygon, then you kind of have to find the midpoints, right? And connect them like that without doing the bars, of course. But I would say, why not do both? And then you just have to make sure you tell me on the side here which one is which. And then you've got them covered. Okay. Watch this one right here. At the bottom. If I were to ask you, this is big, okay? This is going to show up a lot. Determine the mean and standard deviation of the data set, okay? Write this down nice and big. From frequency table. Oops, I'm going to zoom out a bit. You do not have data sets, correct, guys? You do not have a bunch of points. But we know there's 26 in here, right? So how would you do that? You do this. One variable stats. Actually, sorry, I'm gonna back up a bit. I'm trying to help you out with this. I could just give you the answer. I'm gonna say, put the midpoints into L1. The frequency goes into L2. Whoa, what's happening there? L1, L2? Yep. Then you're going to go one variable stats. And watch this. You're going to feed it L1, comma, L2. Okay? You must do it in this way. Okay, so I'll just do this. You do this and this, then you type that in, and let's figure out the mean and the standard deviation of this set. I will highlight this nice and big. I'll box this whole section in so you don't forget. I would add this to my study sheet if I were you. Hint, hint, wink, wink, right? So, grab your calculator. Okay. I'm gonna put my calculator here and just start typing in the midpoints. 112.5, 137.5, 162.5, 187.5. Mr. Erickson, what would I do if I haven't calculated this yet? If you just gave me a frequency table, you would have to calculate the midpoints just like we did earlier. Okay. Then you go to L2 and you put in the frequencies. I should probably go back to the table here, right, for you to see. You put the frequency into your L2. So it's 3, 8, 3, 12. Now we have everything we need. So I press stat, calculate, one variable stats. It's always one variable stats. Then I go second 1, comma, second 2, and hit enter. And there's your average, right? The mean right there, and the standard deviation right there. And how many values are we considering? Look up here. You don't want to forget this. 26, right? You know you're doing things right if you see the 26 there. So let's go over here and write this down. Mean is 160.58 watt. This would be centimeters. And my standard deviation is 27.67 centimeters. And my N is 26. Is that centimeters? Number of items. We don't know. It could be trees. It could be people. Whatever was measured to enter into this frequency table. So now I'm going to grab a big highlighter. Whatever highlighter you haven't used, something that sticks out, and just make sure you frame this thing and you highlight how to find a standard deviation, mean and standard deviation of a data set from a frequency table. In particular, this point right here. One more thing, okay? If you did one variable stats, right, and you omitted L2, you did not enter L2, all you did is you put the midpoints into L1. Watch what you're gonna. Your average is 150, right? And you might fall for it, but what do you see? What's N? How many items are you considering? 4. That's wrong. We know it's 26, right? So that should be indicators like, wait a minute, something is off here. Okay. Can I just go back to this table? I know I'm overloading you with information. I know that. We're going to pause a little bit to practice this tomorrow. But this goes into L1. You want to put L1 down here. And at the very end here, just say you put this into L2. Okay. And then just make an arrow going to the next page. So you tell yourself, hey, like this is where I got the information from to figure out the mean and the standard deviation. Okay. I'm gonna pause there. We're not gonna do more graphing. We'll do that tomorrow. That'll be page 17 and on. Could you go to page 18 for the remainder of today's class? Go to page 18. And one more time, calculating the mean and the standard deviation given a frequency table. That should be like, this should be like a flag, right? I will ask you to go to page 16, right? See page 16 if you're drawing a blank and you need to remind yourself how to do it, okay? Before you do this, I want you to do this for the rest of today's class. If you don't finish it, it's homework, okay? I kind of repeat everything I've said, but let's talk about this real quick. Is this a frequency table? How do you know? You don't have those 3 columns, right? This is just what I did before. I just gave you a bunch of values, remember? And you found the mean and the standard deviation, just like that. You have to enter them each individually. Okay? Is this a frequency table right here? I don't know, Mr. Dixon, what's missing there? The tally column, right? Forget about it. They've done that for you already. They tallied it up and they already came up with this. To find the mean and the standard deviation of something like this, what would you need to do before? Find the midpoints. So you can, here, this is a freebie for you. You will find the midpoints, put that into L1, and this, the number of employees, goes into L2, and then you find me the mean and the standard deviation, okay? So pages 18 and 19, okay? 18 and 19. That's your homework. Maybe it's schoolwork if you finish it here. Page 18 to 19 is homework. You need to try it. I don't care if you get it wrong. I honestly don't care. I just want you to try it. On page 19, there's a QR code. And that QR code shows you how to find the standard deviation by hand. If you're ever interested in post-secondary and you have a pretty strong feeling that statistics is going to be something you're going to have to take, I would strongly encourage you to try that. I will probably find some class time to do it, but I'm not guaranteeing you that because it's not a requirement. Okay? Page 18 and 19 homework. Do as much as you can. It's not that much.